back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah, and I show up every Sunday night on this YouTube channel with read aloud tips and book ideas for you to use in your classroom that week. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, give this video a thumbs up and then hit the subscribe button below so that you don't miss anything. Last week, we talked about helping students be successful with reading at home on a nightly basis. Today, I want to talk about helping students read at home. And this week, I want to expand on that a little bit more and help your students create reading plans when they are home for extended periods of time, whether it's a winter break or a spring break or even summer vacation. We want to help them become successful readers outside of the school walls, all on their own. Last week we talked about finding someone to read with. We discussed finding a place in their home to read that would work for them so that each night they could settle into that spot and be successful with reading at home. But now let's talk about making a reading plan for when they are home for longer periods of time. They don't have that stability or that schedule in place when they are home to become a successful reader. So in school, they have a time to read, they know where they're reading, they know what they're reading, and they're surrounded by readers. But what happens when they go home? There are other people around who are cooking dinner, who are playing games, who are watching TV. They might not have as much access to books at home, and they might be distracted by other things that are going on. So let's help them make a plan for reading so that they can be successful outside of school and get more reading into their day. So everything that we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you in a free download, and that link is in the description below. So feel free to grab that and use it in your classroom. So the first thing we want to talk about with our students is reading a priority for you at home? Do you enjoy reading? Why is it important that you read? Do you want to read over break? Some of them might say no, but we're going to encourage them to read anyway. The next step is thinking about what obstacles might get in their way. And you can even share with them obstacles that get in your way when reading at home. I know for me, there's always cleaning that needs to get done. There's food that needs to be cooked. There are kids that need to be driven to activities. All of these get in the way of reading time. So help your students come up with obstacles that might keep them from reading. Are there distractions in the house? Are there a lot of things going on, especially during a winter break when there are holiday activities, although maybe not as much this year, but there might be more family around. There might be holiday activities that are going on. They might have new things to play with at home. These are all distractions and obstacles that are going to get in the way. But by identifying them with your students, we can help put a plan into place to make sure that they aren't distracted by them. Discuss with your students somebody in their home who could help keep them on track and keep them focused when it is time to read. Who is going to read with them? Who are they going to discuss the books with? Where will they be able to read? Sometimes the living room is the most active place in the house. There's a lot of people coming and going. The TV could be on. There are computer games going on. Help your students identify a quiet place in their house that they can sneak in a little bit extra reading time without being distracted by other things going on. Maybe in their room is a place that they can read without being interrupted by someone. Help them identify that quiet space so that they have a plan in place for somewhere to go without having to do that extra thinking once they are home. Maybe they don't have access to a lot of books at home. Maybe their house just doesn't have books. Can you send books home with them? Could they pick out a few from your classroom library that could be sent home so they are prepared, they have something to read, and they don't have to go looking for something? Can they make a plan to sit down with their family to go to the library one day over break to pick out some books that they might be interested in reading? By identifying all of these obstacles, we can really help our students defeat them and overcome them and get more reading done while they are at home. Another discussion you can have with your students is setting a specific time for them to sit down and read. Because if they're home and they just say, yeah, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, and all of a sudden vacation's over, and they haven't done any of their reading, help them come up with a time. Okay, when I wake up in the morning, the first 10 minutes after I wake up, I'm going to take my book out. Or right before I go to bed, that's a great time for me to read. Again, having this time already established will help students read more at home. Are they going to do it every day? Probably not. But having a plan in place will keep it from being pushed to the side over and over and over again. And like I said earlier, I created a reading plan that you can download for free. It's in the description below, and use that with your students. fill it out together with them, then they can take it home with them, share it with their families, and they have that plan ready. Encourage them to hang it on the refrigerator so that they see it every day and it doesn't get smushed to the bottom of their backpack until the end of vacation. So then the next step, after they come back from break, sit down with each of your students and discuss how it went. Were they able to read during break? Did the plan help? What got in their way? Were there things that they didn't think about? How can they make the next one even better? So again, by reflecting on these, they think about what went well, what didn't go well, and what they can do next time to make it better. And I've added an extra reflection sheet in there for you, so that way you can keep this all together. And before the next break comes up, sit down, look at both their original reading plan as well as their reflection sheet when they came back from break, so that they can make a new plan for the next break that comes up. I feel like I've said break a lot of times in this video. Did anybody keep count? So by putting all of this together, what we talked about last week with how to read at home, and then what we just talked about in this video, making a plan for when we are out of school for a long period of time, will help your students to become avid readers outside of school. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and then subscribe to my channel down below, because next week I'll be back with more read aloud tips and book ideas for you to use in your classroom. Have a great week.